let's talk about 283 to start. UFC 283 coming up here pretty soon. Um, we can start from the top. Uh, Predictions and thoughts. What's going on with Glover and Sweet Dreams? How is this gonna go?
Well, Jamal Hill. He's been up and coming, knocking these fools out, like making some guy who was elite, like said elite by the public, Johnny Walker, making this guy look goofy when he got knocked out.
True, true. And another thing is, I think his most recent fight is very notable. I'm gonna check and make sure who it was with. I'll go Santos. That's the one. Hammer tattoo.
Thiago Santos.
That fight proved something to me about Jamal Hill, um, that I was unaware of before. As I saw Jamal Hill before that fight, um, it was every young up and comer ever. A long way to go. A lot of he had a lot of drive and hunger to find within himself before he could take that next step. But I think he displayed it in that fight. If you remember, that fight was a war.
Oh yeah,
And not to say that Thiago Santos was at his best, but he pushed Jamal towards his best.
oh yeah, and like Santos is no joke. You can't
Yeah,
sleep on a guy like Thiago Santos. He's not in the
yeah,
UFC
that
anymore,
power
unfortunately, but he did test Jamal Hill.
for
He's in
sure.
the apex. Jamal Hill's like been getting knockouts like crazy in the apex.
Right. Yeah, I think that was the proving ground. But perhaps Jamal Hill's moving a little fast because the light heavyweight division needs a hero right now with Mr. Projaska missing.
Yeah.
Um, Facing pretty much the people's champion Glover Teixeira. Um,
It's crazy though. Man's like in his 40s, and he's like telling everybody at the press conference that he's in his prime right now, going against Jamal Hill.
how'd I look out there? Oh, you look good, man. Then I'm gonna keep going. I love Glover. Um, Personally, I think Glover is gonna have too much for Sweet Dreams.
Yeah,
That's not to say that Jamal can't get here in the future, get towards the belt. Um,
he's definitely hanging in as a top contender. But if we look at Glover's previous fights, taking the belt from Jan Blachowicz, submitting Thiago Santos, beating Anthony Smith. But if you really look at the Anthony Smith fight, Anthony Smith was working him until like I'd say round four. The fourth round of that fight was when the fight completely turned over to Glover. Getting him on
right,
the ground, hitting nasty shots, getting the job done. Yeah.
right. I think I see this fight being a lot better than is expected. I think this is going to be a war. My prediction is this: it's either going to go to a decision or a championship round finish, either the in the fourth or the fifth.
I'm gonna say a war going to it like just a straight up split decision, like being a really close fight.
It could be, and that's not to discredit either of these guys' finishing ability. If it's going to get finished, either Glover is going to tap out Jamal Hill or TKO
Yeah.
him late in the fight,
Or Jamal is just gonna straight up knock out Glover, like
which is very possible. We've
just
seen it
straight up
before.
Rumble Johnson knockout to Glover Teixeira.
Yeah, so this fight could go a lot of ways, but my final take is I think Glover pulls it out using the experience he has over Jamal Hill's youth and power.
Yeah, I
Um,
I agree too. I see Glover winning the fight, but I got a lot of love for these like newcomers and like these guys that are just popping, bringing the fight down, like just making it entertaining. So
right.
I want to see Jamal Hill win. No disrespect to Glover.
Yeah, no disrespect. Either of these guys winning, to be clear, I am happy.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them both. Um, all right. So your official pick, Jamal
Jamal
Hill?
Hill. Yeah, I got Jamal Hill by either fifth round decision or KO TKO in the third or fourth round.
All right. We'll come back and we'll visit that.
Up next, we got the co-main for UFC 283, which is Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, in my
Again.
opinion, both these guys very talented flyweights, and I got a lot of love for Brandon Moreno.
Yeah, man. These two, they've painted what is probably the best era for the flyweight division that we've seen in the UFC. That's not to discredit DJ. DJ was just so much better than everybody that his fights weren't so interesting. But
Yeah,
what these two men have done is they've made the smaller fighters okay again. Watching the smaller fighters, it's not like a weird niche UFC fan thing anymore. Um, these guys, they go to war every time.
yeah.
I'd watch them fight infinitely. If they fought each other every time for eternity, I'd
Like,
watch them all.
I'm convinced everybody would be mad if it was any other fighters fighting for the fourth time.
Right,
Like, this
right.
is the
'Cause
only matchup that just makes sense. Because if you look at their previous matchups, you got, the first fight ending in a really close, like, but draw. And then the second fight, Brandon Moreno submitting Davidson Figueiredo for the belt. And then the third fight, Davidson Figueiredo pulling it off, taking the belt back from Brandon Moreno. And now we have the fourth fight. And until Davison got submitted, we look at the third fight. That fight was also really close
yeah, man.
going to the distance.
Yeah, and the second one, um, where Moreno pulled off the submission, he found his moment, and I think that's why people, um, that's one of the reasons. There's many reasons, but that's one of the reasons why so many people are behind Moreno in this rivalry as
Oh
opposed
yeah,
to Davison, is because he just found the right moment. It was, I don't know, he's special.
yeah. There's
Um,
just something about Brandon Moreno. Like he goes in there, he's a straight up dog.
he got that dog.
Literally, like both these guys have very good resumes, like incredible resumes. Like if you look at Brandon Moreno's last two fights, one championship fight, another championship fight against Kai Kara France. He was working Kai's body, and then finally lands that last liver kick that puts Kai down, winning the interim belt. And now we see this
Right.
fourth matchup coming with Thieves and Figueredo.
Yeah, and the implications of this fight are notable. So, there's we've heard rumors, but they seem to be almost assured rumors that Davison's going up to 135 after this fight, regardless of the result. So, what that tells me is that Davison's mind is kind of on different things, you know, and about future business decisions. He's thinking about being double champ right now.
Yeah.
That's what Davison's thinking about.
But win or lose, I mean, like, if you've seen Davison like without like after every fight, you know how big he gets.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I would see him just going up to 35 because of the weight cut to 25.
For sure.
But
And
where does that put Brandon?
I think it paves the way for Brandon. So
I
where I was
think
going,
Brandon's only challenge if Davison was to leave the flyweight division would probably be Pantoja.
yeah, yeah. He's Car France can't do it, and there's nobody else that's ready besides Pantoja.
You seen Pantoja in the Ultimate Fighter submitting him, and then Pantoja beating him by a decision back in like 2018. I think Pantoja is the
Right.
only guy that could possibly get it done against Moreno.
Yeah. So what I think is since Figueiredo's mind is on that double champ status, since it's on legacy, Davison's thinking about a lot of things right now. And I can tell you exactly what Brandon Moreno is thinking about, and that's beating Davison Figueiredo by any means necessary. I
Yeah, if
think,
I was Brandon Moreno, I would not like seeing Davison Figueredo like beating you and then going up to 35 and then beating the 35 champ.
yeah, the legacy implications for both of these men
Both on the line.
is, yeah, they're both on the line, and I think Moreno has more to lose.
Oh yeah,
But with with that, I think that means Moreno comes in hungrier. Moreno is younger, hungrier. He gets better every time he goes out there.
like
Um,
if you look at these guys' three fights, he
yeah,
gets like he shows massive signs of improvement throughout every fight.
and that's not to say that Davison doesn't as
Oh
well.
no, like these guys are literal training partners when they fight in the octagon.
Right, they match. I think I think Moreno pulls this one out because of the headspace
Oh yeah.
he's in. Um, but with that, maybe we talk a little bit about um where Figueiredo fits in with all this at 135. So 135 right now is, in my opinion, I think it's the best division in the UFC right now.
Yeah.
Um, there's contenders everywhere. Um, okay, so you got Aljamain, you got Marab, you have Cheeto, Sandhagen, Peter Yan, Sean
Sean
O'Malley.
O'Malley. You got people like you also got up and coming people too, like Umar. Umar looked really good in his last fight, you know,
Great, he looked great.
and which was crazy because what I've heard was that a lot of people were rooting for Barcelos.
Right. Yeah, I was I typically root for anybody that's not having the name Magomedov at any point, but yeah, it's hard to, you can't deny them. They have the meta in the UFC right now, those
Oh
guys.
yeah,
So it's only a matter of time before Umar storms in and starts to shake shit up at 35. Um, but then you've got Figueiredo all of a sudden. Just drop him into the mix. Um, but let me ask you this: what are the three fights that you'd like to see of Figueiredo at 135?
I would like to see a super fight between him and the champ, or him go at it
Okay.
with Piotr Yan. Maybe even I would say him versus probably Umar or Cheeto.
Yeah.
Between
I
those
uh
guys, those would be really good fights.
I think the potential of a Cheeto Vera versus Divas and Figueiredo fight is incredible. I would love to see that fight. Um I like Figueiredo against the crafty strikers at 35. Another one I'd like to see is Figueiredo Sandhagen.
Yeah,
I feel like that one.
Sanhagen's bigger in every like way.
Right. But I think Figueiredo is a professional. I think he'll figure out how he's going to bulk up, and
Yeah, and most small guys are just heavily underestimated and really good.
for sure, man.
You look at a guy like Volk, like fighting a 5'11" guy like Max Holloway and beating him like every round.
Right. Um okay, so and then one last thing I wanted to cover when talking about that fight is this could be this could be gold, not just the belt, but like legacy gold for Brandon Moreno. So we think about this, he beats Figueiredo in a conclusive fashion where we're like, okay, it's over. Moreno wins this whole series of fights. Figueiredo goes up to 135. He's now out of the way. If Moreno can defend against Pantoja, this is Moreno's era.
This is yeah, just him just straight up defending the belt. Like he is the
Yeah.
new guy that's running the 25-pound division.
He's young. I mean, I want to check his age real quick. Do you know it by chance?
I think he's in his. I think he's hitting 30. I'm not sure. Let me check. Yeah, he's gonna be 30.
He's got so much time ahead of him, and Figueiredo's getting up there in age. It's about to be. I think it's about to be Brandon Moreno's time, and I think he's gonna run 25 for a while.
Yeah, but another thing that leaves a lot to lose for Davison as well. This fight's in Brazil.
Oh, you're right.
This fight's in
Right.
Brazil, and the same goes for Glover.
Right.
Like you look at a guy like Glover, both these guys don't want to lose in their home like country.
They can't lose in their home country. These are their people. It's who they represent, and it's big out there in Brazil. The fight culture is real. Did you see um the picture? I forget what the statue is called, but it's like the big Jesus statue.
Oh yeah, and it's like it's got like a belt like on it, projected.
Yeah, it's got the UFC belt projected on it.
Yeah,
They take it fucking seriously out there. I love it. I can't wait to hear the the mic pops of that crowd.
oh yeah,
It's gonna get loud.
usually does. Like Jose Aldo's fight, his WEC fight where he just runs out of the crowd.
Right. So, conclusively for that fight, I think my pick is Moreno.
Yeah, Moreno by either split decision or maybe he gets it done on the ground, round 3, 4, or 5.
I'm gonna say TKO. I think it's gonna be a little different.
What?
So my thought is the constant thought of every combat sport is how much longer does his chin have?
Oh yeah.
And Figueiredo's
and
been in this
the
sport a long time.
Yeah, with the 3 fights, these guys get dropped a lot.
They do a lot of damage to one
They
another. Like
get dropped a lot.
it is a miracle that none of those fights ended by stoppage of punches or kicks.
Oh yeah.
It is incredible. But I think that ends, and I think the Kaikara France fight showed a step that Moreno has taken that he didn't necessarily have before. And that's that like assassin hitman kind of understanding of your striking. He used to get somebody hurt with his hands. He would throw hard and he'd rock somebody like Davison, and then he'd start swinging.
Yeah.
But when you just kind of start swinging wildly, it doesn't turn out. What we saw with Kai is he took his moments. He was super precise and he was accurate. He knew what to do. He stayed calm when the excitement got high. And I think because we know he can hurt Davison. We've seen it. I think if he gets Davison hurt enough, he can finish him with strikes.
Put him away.
Yeah, I think he can put him away.
I kind of agree with that.
What do you mean? What do you think?
Because, like, I don't know. Like, we've been through 3 fights with these guys.
Yeah.
But it would also make sense with what you're saying.
Yeah.
These guys have been damaged. Both of their chins have been tested.
True. All right, we can geek out about these two all day, but carrying on down the card. So we've got Burns versus Magny. Now, this fight's pretty easy to predict. Yeah, we're both thinking Gilbert Burns easily.
I'd like to change my pick up a bit. I'm still gonna say
Really?
Gilbert Burns, but you gotta hand it to a guy like Magny, who has fought everybody, almost everybody in this division. He's been fed to Shavkat. He's an experienced welterweight, and
Right.
who knows what the game plan might be for this one. But I still think Gilbert Burns is gonna put him away, but it won't be Easy. I think Magny's going to go in, put some pressure on him, but I think
Yeah,
Gilbert's going to end up coming out on top.
yeah. I personally think it'll probably be a KO. I think
Yeah.
Burns has a lot of pop, and Magny's getting to that age where he's kind of starting to like shrink down a little bit. His chin doesn't seem so assured anymore. Because he has fought a lot of guys, but I think he's at that point now where he's fought too many.
Yeah.
Um, and that does bring around the situation with Gilbert Burns. He's saying that everybody's ducking him at 170.
Yeah, like,
What are your
and
thoughts?
what doesn't sit right with me is that the UFC just straight up takes Gilbert Burns, drops him down to like 5, and then puts Bilal Muhammad in his place. Because have we've heard from the press conference that Muhammad has been offered a fight with Burns so many times, but he's turned it down. And in my opinion, you can't take a guy's spot and then give it to another guy who does not want to fight the guy whose spot that's gotten taken away from him.
I agree. I agree.
I think they're doing
And I would
Burns
like to.
dirty.
Yeah, man, they really did. I mean, so let's think about it. So Burns has called for Hamzat again in the last few months.
Yeah.
Um, he's called for Masvidal. I mean, I'm sure he's called for more on the inside of it all as well. And nobody wants to fight Mr. Gilbert Burns. I I think a lot of it has to do with how he held up in the fight against Hamzat. Um, I think that was a big wake up call for a lot of guys in the UFC saying, "Oh, okay. If we're scared of Hamzat, we ought to be scared of Gilbert too. This
Yeah.
guy might be for real." Um, and, and the possibility still lies that maybe Burns hadn't hit his prime yet.
I think he's still getting there.
Right. You know,
I think Burns still
and
has a lot
nobody
of time in
thinks,
him. Which is crazy because Burns is older than Magny.
right.
But if you
It's
look at
wild.
Magny, another thing is the height difference, the 9 inches in reach.
Yeah.
Just we got to see what his game plan will be for 283.
Right. We'll go over this one real quick. I don't think this one will be very much to contest, but Murphy versus Andrade. I think Andrade is too strong,
Yeah.
too good.
We've seen Murphy's last fight against Misha Tate. Like, she looked very slow.
Yeah, like, and a lot of people will say, but she beat Misha Tate. Misha Tate is not what she used to be.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Misha Tate has lost about 30 steps, not just a step or two. And Murphy didn't look good against her. He won, but she didn't look good. Andrade should finish her within the
Yes.
first 2 rounds.
Like a fight that I'm very excited for. Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker.
Oh yeah. I what do you think about this one? What's your pick for it?
I don't know, man. Johnny Walker is just a creature that's been created in a lab. You know, he's 30. He's 5 years younger. He's taller by 3 inches, and he's got that crazy reach. We're talking 6 inches, the 82 inches in reach.
Right.
We've seen in his last fight, he's good with the submissions. Paul Craig is probably very one-sided. Like most of his finishes have been by submission. Paul Craig's definitely gonna go for a finish by submission, but I think Johnny Walker will get it done.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I think Walker definitely had a rough patch in the last year or so. But I think his win against Kudalaba was huge. I think he might have some swagger back that he might not have necessarily had before.
Yeah.
Um, And I think Paul Craig is at a point in his career where he's probably going to start regressing. And you can't take away Paul Craig's submission prowess. So it's always possible that Paul Craig pulls it together with a submission.
Yeah.
But I think Johnny Walker is going to reach a point in his career. I think he's about to take a step up. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
what people expected Johnny Walker to be, I think he's going to start approaching that. Maybe they just wanted it out of him too fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he's at a point where he can take it a step forward with his career. I think he gets it done. I think he beats Paul Craig. Hold on. Let's see. What's next? Um, we've got UFC Obama fighting. There's not much to speak about that.
Gregory
Um,
Rodriguez.
except
It
we
says
love
he's
UFC Obama.
it says he's fighting Bruno Ferreira.
Okay. I don't know who that is. I feel like UFC Obama has a win there.
Yeah, but he might.
In
We
the
got we got Shogun.
true.
We got Shogun
Yeah.
fighting at 41. His preliminary fight. This is not cool. Can't do Mauricio Rua like this.
Yeah, he this is his retirement fight as well. He's come out, he's said it that this is his last dance. Um
Hopefully he doesn't get motherfucking Frankie Edgar in the ring.
yeah, I was gonna say, don't get Frankie Edgar. Um let me see. I mean, how old is the guy he's fighting? It's Ihor
26.
Potieria. Um I don't like the implications for Mr. Shogun here. He might be able to outsmart his guy, but Ihor's not a bad fighter. He's pretty solid, and he's young. Um,
I'm still gonna
I
root for my
don't.
boy Shogun.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I all I can hope is that Shogun goes out there, has a good time. It's a war, and that he doesn't get knocked out.
I don't
If he
I
loses,
don't see that happening because Mauricio Rua is like he's like all most of his fights have went to decision.
yeah, or like a TKO.
Yeah.
He's not the type of guy to just get chinned.
Last time he's been TKO'd was by Paul Craig.
Yeah. I uh I just hope that he gets a good response with that Brazil crowd and that he goes out the way he wants to.
Yes.
Um let's see. Oh, I'm pretty sure T-Rex is on the card, yeah?
He's
In
the
the early
first fight.
prelims. Hell yeah. So, as far as we know, as far as we've heard, um if Terrence McKinney wins this fight, he plans to call out Paddy Pimblett.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I'm rooting. I'm always rooting for Terrence McKinney, but now I'm especially rooting for Terrence McKinney, um, because I am preying on Paddy Pimblett's downfall. He's my new hate bulletin.
I'm sure he's everybody's hate bulletin because like that was a complete robbery.
It wasn't close. It wasn't close. That was ridiculous.
This guy he fought Jared Gordon.
Jared Gordon beat him.
Yeah.
Not in the books, but he beat him.
McKinney is also a very long fighter. He's not really tall like that, but he's long and he's really good on the back and on the ground.
He's got the grappling to keep up with Patty's grappling as well, because that's where Patty is strong, is his jiu-jitsu. Um, and I think that when it comes to the striking, I think Terrence McKinney's striking is better than Patty's. Neither of them have great striking or even like that good of striking, but I think Terrence McKinney has the edge there. And I think that's enough to make the difference. As long as Terrence McKinney doesn't get choked out, I think he wins that fight.
Yeah. And I think all of his fights have been in 2022.
Yeah, man. He's an up and comer. I'm excited about
Yeah.
a lot of the young guys coming up, especially him. Let's see. Oh, let's go over some general mixed martial arts news here. So that pretty much wraps up 283 as a whole. Um, Now we should talk about Francis Ngannou.
Oh yeah.
Um, what are your thoughts on the whole situation? Who's to blame, and are we better or worse off going forward?
Well, what first off, I'm gonna say it's not Ngannou's fault. I do genuinely think what he's saying is the truth. I wouldn't expect Ngannou to lie at all.
Yeah,
But like, I think Dana, what he said was that the contract that he was offered wouldn't make him free.
right.
They're basically trying to put him on strings.
Yeah, and then the UFC wouldn't bend on what Ngannou was calling for, and Ngannou wasn't calling for um what athletes usually call for, and that's a lump sum of money. He was calling for insurance. He was calling for fair sponsorship rulings so that fighters could make money off of their image. Um, yeah, I think the UFC takes a huge loss on this one. Um, and that's not to say that even that I think Ngannou's like essential to have in the UFC.
Yeah, like I think I don't think they would be damaged by losing Ngannou, but it shows how stubborn they are
Right,
about the whole fighter pay situation. Like a great solution to fighter pay is to just let the fighters wear their sponsors, to just
right.
cut off the whole deal with Venom, or just make it to where the fighters can wear their own shorts now.
I mean, we had it back in the day. We already had it figured out, you know?
Yeah, and they were making a good
Um,
amount of money. Like fighter pay wasn't a problem until like I'd say five or 4 years ago.
right. And it was a major problem as soon as they signed the Reebok deal.
Yes.
And the Reebok deal took away their sponsored shorts. Sponsored shorts is if they just let the fighters have that one thing back, this whole fiasco goes away. The whole thing goes away, I think. Um, I know they want that unified look, like everybody wears the same type of uniform, you know. Um, but it's such a simple fix. It doesn't require any overhead from the UFC other than like a small monetary loss from losing the Venom sponsorship. Um, but yeah, no, I'm excited to see what Ngannou does outside the UFC, what shenanigans he gets up to. But um, otherwise, it opens up the heavyweight division, and aside from the business implications, I'm kind of excited about the void he has left behind.
Yeah, because now we got the motherfucking main event with John Jones and Cyril Gane.
Right.
This one's
Uh,
probably going to be talked about for like a good decade.
yeah. I. It's controversial. Anything to do with John Jones is controversial, but as I've gotten deeper into this sport, I've become more and more a fan of him, regardless of his character, regardless of his actions outside the sport. It
Like you have to just admire how good of a mixed martial artist John Jones is.
is the best we've seen.
Yeah.
I still think he lost to Dominic Reyes, but I don't even if he did, even if he did, I would argue that so what? GSP lost to two guys named Matt. He avenged both losses, of course, but um, DJ has lost before.
Yeah,
Anderson
like a
Silva has
lot of
lost.
these greats that everybody's putting in this GOAT conversation have lost. Jones hasn't. If we're talking to the disqualification, if you really look at that fight, who lost?
Yeah, no, nobody counts that DQ as a real
Yeah,
loss.
in to the fans, to the public, to the internet, Jones is a 27-0 mixed martial artists.
Right. Um, I think if Jones was fighting in Ganu, I think it would be different. But Jones versus Gane, I have Jones in this one, and that pick is not hard for me to make.
It's not hard for
And
me
the
either, but you can't count out a guy like Cyril Gane. This guy
yeah,
is
the
like he's one of the fastest heavyweights we've seen. Like he is so good managing his body, his weight.
right,
He's got crazy like striking. He's good with like the body kicks. He's good with his elbows. He's good like standing up, but like then that leaves where the ground fight goes. And Cyril Gane, I'm pretty sure has been training for ground fighting, especially with a guy
especially
like
after
Jones.
that
If we're
loss.
looking at the Gane versus Ngannou fight, Gane was getting taken down by Ngannou with a busted knee.
Right.
The grapple game was very easy for Ngannou with a busted knee.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that probably after that, Gun's been wrestling angrily, trying to get better at it. But you can only learn so much in a fight camp or two. Um, I think the difference in this fight, A, is going to be the wrestling that John Jones has. But bigger than that, I think it's a matter of killer instinct.
Yeah,
John
it's all
Jones
based on
has,
how Jones is going to enter this fight.
right. And I think John Jones has some of the best fight IQ I've ever seen, and some of the best, like deep down killer instinct. I think John Jones has the very best.
Yes.
Um, and that's a thing that we have not really seen from Cyril Gane. That's not to discredit Cyril because Cyril is very talented. His striking is up there. He's very slick with it. But there's something different mentally between those two going into that fight. And it's that John Jones is going out there to kill.
Oh yeah.
Cyril Gane's going out there to win on points.
And if we're looking at Jones's resume compared to Gane's resume,
Right.
Jones has seen it all.
Very true. There is the slight possibility. So the window of opportunity for Cyril Gane is that maybe John Jones' chin has taken a step back in his time away from the sport and with his age. Um, so in the Dominic Reyes fight, we saw John Jones do something that he doesn't do often, and that is to straight up flee his opponent. Um, we saw John Jones turn his back and run at one point, and we saw John Jones giving a lot of respect to Dominic Reyes' reach, um, which is out of character for John. So the little bit of me that thinks John could lose is thinking Cyril catches him with a perfect strike, or just catches him with something just nice enough, and rocks him and or puts him away.
Yeah.
That's the opportunity for Gane. Gane's got to be accurate and he's got to seize his moment because the windows of opportunity with John Jones are going to be short. Very, very short. So he's got to seize his moment perfectly. Um, John Jones' distance management is going to be problematic for Cyril. Um, even with John coming up from light heavyweight, his reach is still ridiculous,
Yeah.
unmatched.
And another thing to compare this, like going up a weight class, George St. Pierre. He's taken time off, a good 3 years, just like Jean, comes back, fights Bisping for the title, and wins.
Right. Yeah. So my final pick is John, of course, but I'm just overall I'm just excited to see that fight, and I'm excited to see John back in the octagon.
Okay, I'm gonna root for Jones too.
Yeah.
I think John's got it down. I think I think he's done enough. Like he's been big for a while. Like I think he's got this weight managed, and I think he knows what to do with it.
Yeah. Okay. So of our serious topics, those that was pretty much it. Um, However, we cannot clock out without talking about power slap.
Oh my god, the power
So
slap is gotta be the most like uncomfortable thing to watch.
it's I think it's hilarious, but not in the right way, you know? Not in a way where like, ah, this content's a haha funny. It's like a this was poorly timed and is fucked up, but it's like ironically funny. Um, so use maybe we can pull it up in editing afterwards, but you brought it up that girl that got knocked out.
Yeah, straight up just fucking rolled. Like it's just not, and like when that happened, the silence was so loud.
I think that's the worst part about it
Is that
is that
after they
it's
get slapped, there's just a sequence of silence of them just trying to
oh,
recover. That is what makes it so uncomfortable to watch for me. I do not like power slap. I'm sorry.
I don't like it either. It's so bad. And then the poor guy with the super swollen face.
Oh, I don't think that was a power slap thing.
Yeah, but that's the same sport, you
Yeah, it's the
know.
same thing.
That's to come in power slap. Oh man. And then the timing of it beginning with the Dana White domestic violence fiasco.
Just wrong timing.
Horrible. The worst possible timing. Um yeah, that's all I have for power slap. The silence is too loud. You're right. Um So, oh, one other thing, just a quick point of action. Let's get a round of applause for Yoel Romero getting his U.S. citizenship. People at home, I hope you're applauding. Celebrate our boy. Hopefully, we can pull up a picture of him.
Yeah,
We're
it's
very proud,
officially an American.
honest, and
Speaking of
maybe
Romero, he's got a title fight coming up.
true, true.
Bellator light heavyweight. That man is still a dog at 45. I'm convinced this guy's gonna fight till he hits the grave.
Yeah, and he is going to be buff in the grave. It doesn't matter. He is huge. And he always will be. He's wild, man. It's like nobody is able to keep that physique that long in this sport.
Yeah, he was made in the lab.
Dude was made in a lab. You are right. I don't know. Um, you have anything you wanted to add on 283 MMA news?
I got a
Anything
thing
like
to
that?
add, but it's not about like it's sort of related to combat sports, but like I want to talk about Keith Lee.
Keith Lee.
Yeah.
That's Kevin Lee's brother, yeah?
Kevin Lee's brother, yeah. This man has been doing God's work. Like, what? Have you seen this man's TikToks at all?
Uh-uh.
So what
I'm
he
not.
does is people recommend him these like struggling businesses in Vegas, like these food service businesses. He goes over there and like sees why they're struggling. Like maybe their service is horrible, maybe their food's not great. But sometimes like some of these videos where like he does do the reviews, the food is
Uh-huh.
like very good and the service is like immaculate. And he just basically his goal is to just revive these businesses that have no reason to be like struggling at all. And I think recently he's been teaming up with Mr. Beast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, to just do like this stuff to just bring back all these struggling businesses that shouldn't be struggling because of how good their service is, how good their food is. It's just
Right.
a good sight to see, and it just
Yeah, it's
makes me
good.
very happy.
Okay, but where does Kevin Lee fit into all of this?
Kevin Lee's probably
Yeah,
doing something else, probably steroids.
right. steroids, losing to Diego Sanchez and Eagle FC,
Yeah.
Kevin Lee activities.
Before we call this off, though, we have to talk about the triple title fight.
Oh, you're right.
280,
85.
yeah, 285. 285 has got it's the same card with John Jones and Gunn. They've decided to give us two more title fights, a co-main and another 5-round title bout. We got Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso and Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana.
All right. So we've already covered Jones Gone, so we'll skip past that. Let's talk about um, Nunes versus Aldana first. So my take, I think Nunes is going to have an extended period of success now again.
Yeah, because she
Um,
realizes if she overlooks opponents or if she goes in not training as much, we'll get the same outcome as what happened with Juliana Pena the first fight.
right.
If you look at the
I
first
think,
fight, if you look at the differences between the first fight and the second fight, you could argue that Pena does not need a rematch.
right. It was clear and definite
The
in
most
the rematch.
one-sided fight I've ever seen.
Yeah, Nunes went out there and fixed every issue. She got into shape. Um, yeah, I think Nunes makes it look easy against Aldana. Aldana's food right now.
Yeah.
Nunes, I think Nunes is gonna enter another streak of extended success before she exits the sport. Um, Now the Shevchenko Grasso fight. I'm not super enthusiastic about it. I don't like Shevchenko very much.
I
Um,
think it's a whole issue with the women's flyweight division. I think we need more explosion in the women's flyweight division. I think we need to see these crazy we need more crazy fights. We need people that could be actual opposing threats to
right,
Valentina. Like if we're looking at
right,
Valentina's title reign, who have these fights actually been against?
right. I mean, like the only one that's been notable was the last one, um, where Valentina kind of got lucky with the decision. I mean, every close fight's a robbery,
Yeah.
but that fight, I mean, Valentina has holes. I don't think she's the perfect undisputed women's fighter. I think she found the right division. I think 25 is empty.
Yeah. We
I
need
think the real
more. We
competition.
need more challenge in this division. I think the last challenging fight she's had was probably I'm probably gonna say Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Yeah, prior to the Santos fight, the
Yeah,
last one,
but
of
this
course.
wasn't Joanna's division. Let's be honest.
Right.
Women's flyweight.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Shevchenko makes it look easy against Grasso. Um, I was kind of hoping that the next Shevchenko fight we'd get would be a crossover, either up or down a division. Her and Nunes have fought before. I was interested in maybe if one of those killers at 115 came up. I feel like this is a great time for maybe Rose Namajunas to move up to 25. Um, we've seen her against everybody at 115, and a lot of people are kind of against Rose right now for her last fight. So maybe it's time for her to go up and prove herself to be hungry again. You know,
I think she would be really successful at 25.
I agree because she's not small at 115. She'd be normal sized at 25, maybe even still big. Um, and then maybe Zhang Wei Li versus Shevchenko.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. There's just a lot of cool potential fights I was excited to see.
I think Whaley
Or,
should have another title defense. Should have a title defense, and then announce to go up for a double champ.
right, I agree. Um, Moving on from that, there's Shavkat on that card. That's one I'm super excited about.
Yes.
Um, Shavkat versus Jeff Neal. Um,
Jeff Neal, he's been promising lately. Knocking out a guy like Vicente Luque.
that fight was awesome.
That fight was fucking awesome. Jeff Neal has
Fucking
got crazy hands, but what is he gonna do against a fucking guy like Shavkat?
yeah, I think Shavkat has it, but I don't even care. I like both the guys. I don't think either of them loses stock from that fight. I think it's perfect. And similarly to how people at welterweight are ducking Gilbert Burns, everybody's ducking
No
Shavkat.
one wants to fight this guy.
Yeah, like you want to talk about people ducking Hamzat. You don't even know. Nobody wants to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm interested to see his future. I think he has a lot of great potential, and he's that new breed of fighter that's coming in totally balanced. He's got hands. He can grapple. I'm pretty certain that he still has an equivalent number of submissions and knockouts.
Oh yeah,
Half
16
his
and
wins
0
are one
too.
way,
I think
half his.
that's more. That's more wins than Kamzat. I'm pretty sure.
Let me see. Could be. Hamzat's 12 and 0, and then Rachmanov 16 and 0. Yeah. And of course that can't be used for everything because like the
Wins are
quality of
wins,
opponent. Yeah. Um is there anything else from
Ooh, I want to go
285
back.
that you
I
want?
want to go back to 284.
All right. All right.
We got Makachev versus Volkanovski.
That
This
fight
would probably be a fight for the books as well.
for sure. I mean, it doesn't get more perfect. You got pound for pound number 1 and 2.
Yeah, we've seen how easily Islam just beat Oliveira, put him on the
Broke my
ground,
heart.
and then just had the most tightest choke. Like he wasn't even shifting. He wasn't shifting into a full arm triangle. As soon as he shifted, the second he shifted, Oliveira tapped. That's when a choke from a guy like Islam is very tight.
Right.
But Volk was a small guy like Volk. Everybody that just makes fun of him for being small, he is one of the most the most greatest anti wrestlers I've ever seen. Right next to Whitaker. It
Right.
is very hard to take this guy down. And I think Islam's stand up game is okay. It's better.
It's nothing special
It's
though.
yeah. It's not the best. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's average.
Right.
Like, but against a guy like Volkanovski's got hands. We've seen him 225 pounds. He carries that power with him.
Yeah. My gut says Makachev. Makachev's like my nightmare fighter right now. I don't hate him by any means, but he keeps fucking things up for the fighters I do like. Um Kind of broke my heart seeing Oliveira lose, and Volkanovski's another one of my favorites. I don't know. I hope that Volkanovski can keep it on the feet. I just know that eventually that fight's gonna touch the ground at some point.
Yeah. Well, we've
You
seen
know,
Volkanovski with submissions and stuff. He has been in one of the tightest guillotines we've seen.
right?
He
Ortega,
got out of it.
and I mean, Ortega was throwing submissions at him.
Oh yeah.
Uh, had him in a triangle, guillotine. Um, there was one other one too.
Dars.
Yeah. But then we go back and we think about how Islam handled Charles, and as soon as that grip closed, Charles tapped.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Volkanovski's key to victory is incredible takedown defense, but Islam's chain wrestling is gonna make that hard. So Volkanovski's gonna need to attack Islam's legs,
Just
keep it
destroy
standing.
his legs. Keep it on the feet, and he could probably come out with two belts.
Right. I feel like
I am after he 50-45 Max Holloway. I am a Volkanovski supporter for this fight. I want him to win, and my gut's telling me that he will.
I
It's
like
about
hearing
time.
that.
It's about time we put these guys to rest.
Yeah, these fucking Dagestani guys, they're fucking shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Last thing to cover
very
though, the co-main event for this fight, which I'm really excited for. Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett. We got like a crazy striker guy like Yair, who's got submissions too. Can mix the submissions in against a wrestler striker, I think, like Josh Emmett. Never
yeah.
seen Josh Emmett fight like a lot, but
He's like the classic, like almost like a Mendez
like a brawler.
wrestler boxer.
But yeah, if we're looking at like Rodriguez is like his resume, he beat Brian Ortega by like a technical submission,
Right.
losing to
That was by
Holloway. He
accident.
lost to Holloway, but he's beaten Stevens. He's beaten the Korean Zombie. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it'll be Emmett because just styles make fights. I think Emmett will probably wrestle it out. But there is all, of course, the chance that Yair hits that crazy strike and KOs Emmett.
yeah. I'm
But
I'm I'm all for Yair Rodriguez. I want to see him win. It'd be cool to see him hold like gold
right. And is that fight for an interim or
interim.
okay? Yeah, that's interesting.
I think if no Volkanovski does not want to vacate a division if he wins the both belts. He wants to keep both of those divisions busy.
And that's music to my ears. I love watching Volkanovski fight. Um, yeah, that'll be interesting that that's happening all on the same night. There's so many implications for 145.
Yeah,
Um, and then it's for pound king.
yeah.
The-
Who
the-
is who is the greatest of this era? Like honestly,
and you can't like not be excited about that. It's just so awesome. It's because it's not often you can see the two best in the sport fight each other. Because a lot of times, like one of them's a light heavyweight and one of them's a flyweight. They're too far apart. These guys are neighbors. This whole time they've been just getting better, getting better, getting better, climbing and defining their careers. And Volkanovski was there first. The guy right next to him's looking real good too. So I don't know. It's why I love the UFC. It's
makes me very
best
excited
versus
for it.
the best versus the best, man. Um, what else? Does 284 have much else to offer for us? We can always go over it more in depth in the future as well.
Yeah.
But anticipation is real. Right. Well, if you don't have anything else that you want to go over, I've covered my points. I've had a good time talking this out. I'm excited to watch 283 this Saturday.
Me too. Like, I cannot wait. It's like 2 days from now.
Yeah, man, it's getting close.
Getting super close.
The anticipation's been real too because we've had a little bit of a New Year's drought. We had the Sean Strickland fight night, but that was it.
Yeah. That's
All
also
right,
a crazy thing. With Sean Strickland closing and opening up the year.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't like Sean Strickland. Like as a person, I don't think he's a good
Yeah, no,
guy.
he's a douchebag.
He's probably one of the worst guys. However, as a fighter, I admire him a little bit. I'm separating the personal from the fighter, and he's old school. He takes the fight short notice. He goes out there and he brawls. He does a lot of sparring. You know, I think he's fun. I can kind of appreciate a guy like Sean Strickland, even if
Oh
they are
yeah.
an absolute d bag. Yeah. Um. So, to anybody listening, we look forward to going over the results of 283 with you. We're glad that you've joined us for this podcast. We're bringing it up off the ground. Um, starting to begin. We hope that you guys like it and can join along and conversate with us. So please leave in the comments or reach out to us and give us your thoughts because we want to know. We're all about this sport. We're here for it. We're here for everything this sport has for us. We eat it right up. So we'll see you guys next time. We hope that you enjoy 283, maybe even enjoy it with us. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.